Tensions between the United States and Iran have once again reached a critical point as Iran formally rejects direct negotiations with Washington in response to a letter sent by President Donald Trump. This latest development marks yet another chapter in the ongoing conflict over Iran's nuclear program, with both sides standing firm in their positions, raising the specter of further escalation. Welcome to In the Know News, where we bring you the latest developments on global affairs, finance, technology, and more. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian confirmed on Sunday that the Islamic Republic has rejected direct talks with the United States, but has left the door open for indirect negotiations through intermediaries. The response, delivered via the Sultanate of Oman, underscores Iran's deep mistrust of Washington following years of economic pressure and military confrontations. Since Trump unilaterally withdrew the U.S. from the 2015 nuclear deal in 2018, tensions have repeatedly flared, resulting in a series of attacks at sea, drone strikes, and military confrontations across the Middle East. The current geopolitical climate remains highly volatile, especially in the wake of the ongoing Israel-Hamas war, U.S. airstrikes on Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen, and continued hostilities between Iran and Israel. President Pezeshkian, in a televised address, acknowledged that Iran does not fundamentally oppose dialogue, but emphasized that the U.S. has repeatedly broken its promises. "We don't avoid talks. It's the breach of promises that has caused issues for us so far," Pezeshkian stated. "They must prove that they can build trust." While the White House and the State Department have yet to respond, Trump has already signaled his willingness to escalate the situation if Iran refuses to negotiate. In a statement aired by NBC News, he warned, "If they don't make a deal, there will be bombing, and it will be bombing the likes of which they have never seen before." His remarks indicate that military action remains a real possibility if diplomatic efforts fail. Iran's firm stance on rejecting direct negotiations highlights the internal power struggles within the country. Pezeshkian, who was elected half a year ago on a platform of re-engagement with the West, has had to adjust his rhetoric following pressure from Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. In February, Khamenei dismissed negotiations with the U.S. as unwise and dishonorable, prompting Pezeshkian to take a tougher approach. This shift reflects the broader power dynamics within the Iranian government, where hardline factions continue to exert significant influence over foreign policy decisions. Meanwhile, mixed messages from Iran have fueled further uncertainty. During the recent Quds Day demonstrations, crowds were instructed to chant "Death to Israel," rather than the usual "Death to America," signaling a shift in messaging. Additionally, footage from an underground missile base unveiled by Iran's Revolutionary Guard showed Iranian troops stepping on an Israeli flag, an often used propaganda tactic, though notably the American flag was absent from the display. However, Press TV, Iran's English-language state media outlet, recently published a list of U.S. military bases in the Middle East that could be targeted in the event of a conflict, including Camp Thunder Cove on Diego Garcia, where stealth B-2 bombers are stationed. Iran's growing confidence on the world stage is partially due to its recent missile attacks on Israel, though these strikes caused minimal damage and were met with a swift Israeli response that destroyed Iranian air defense systems. This back-and-forth military posturing underscores the precarious nature of the region's security landscape, as both Israel and the U.S. remain committed to preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. Trump's letter to Iran's leadership, dated March 12th, remains largely undisclosed, though he has publicly stated that its message was clear: negotiate or face military consequences. This move echoes his past diplomatic strategy with North Korea's Kim Jong-un, where personal letters led to high-profile meetings but ultimately failed to produce lasting agreements. Similarly, in 2019, Trump attempted to send a letter to Khamenei via then Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, but the Iranian leader dismissed the effort. Iran's skepticism toward Trump's overtures is deeply rooted in its history with his administration, particularly after the January 2020 U.S. drone strike that killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad. The repercussions of that strike continue to shape Iran's foreign policy, with Tehran having previously been accused of plotting retaliation against Trump. At the core of this ongoing standoff is Iran's nuclear program, which remains a major point of contention. While Iran insists its nuclear ambitions are purely peaceful, the international community remains deeply concerned. A recent report by the UN's nuclear watchdog revealed that Iran has accelerated its production of uranium enriched to near weapons-grade levels of 60% purity, a threshold typically reached only by nuclear-armed nations. Given that both Israel and the U.S. have vowed never to allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon, the potential for military conflict remains dangerously high. The rejection of direct talks with the U.S. signals a continuation of the current deadlock, with both sides refusing to back down. Iran remains steadfast in its position that Washington must prove it can be trusted, while Trump's administration appears equally determined to maintain pressure through sanctions, military threats, and diplomatic isolation. As the situation unfolds, the world watches closely, knowing that any miscalculation could lead to a broader regional conflict. For the latest in global affairs, finance, technology, and more, stay tuned to In the Know News, where we bring you the facts that matter. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to stay informed. The situation in Iran remains fluid, and we will continue to provide updates as new developments emerge.